Today's daf yomi is Chullin daf Chaf Vav, and I'm recording this because I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to do it in the morning from the airport. But in any event, uh, if I'm able to, I haven't bought my ticket yet, so I don't know what time my flight is. But either way, we'll do it now, Baruch Hashem. So let's start with the Mishnah on the bottom of Chafayim Abayz HaTemed. So Temed is water that's mixed with the dregs of the grapes. So basically, Achel Hichmitz, before it ferments, Eino Nikach Bekesef Meiser. It cannot be bought with Meiser Sheni money. Meiser Sheni money is the money you bring to Jerusalem. It can be used to buy food to eat in Jerusalem, but it can't be used to purchase water. So the water mixed with the temed, which is not yet wine before it ferments, and it's very little grapes there because there's no grapes; it's just the dregs that you can't use meiser sheni to buy it. Uposo as a mikvah, but since it hasn't fermented yet, it will disqualify the mikvah. Mikvah is disqualified if there's 3 lugin of drawn water that gets mixed in with it before it gets to 40 seah. So this is considered water, and if it hasn't fermented yet, you can't buy meiser sheni money, and it disqualifies the mikvah. But once it ferments, so then it's wine. And nikach bekesef meiser sheni, you can buy it with the meiser sheni money. The anal postos a mikvah. The wine does not disqualify the mikvah. Only 3 lugin of water does. And now the next category is ha'achin ha'shutfin. If they have brothers who are partners, ha'achin ha'shutfin, brothers who are partners, means to say they inherit the estate, but then they break up the estate and they become partners. So then, kishechayavim bekolbon, kolbon is like a surcharge on top of the half shekel that everybody gives. They added on a little bit extra in case, let's say, there was some loss of the money when through the money exchange, or let's say the silver was degraded. So then they add on a kolbon. But if you paid the meiser sheni money if you paid the half shekel for somebody else, then you didn't have to pay the kolbon. So if they're obligated to pay the kolbon, meaning to say they're no longer part of the estate. So it's the achana shutfin. So the brothers, when they're obligated in the kolbon, mean to say where they already divide up the estate between them, and then they went together and became partners. So now they're like regular partners, and when they give the half shekel, they're doing it for themselves. And so therefore, so they have to give a full shekel, and they have to add on a kolbon. So since they are obligated to do the kolbon because it's no longer part of the estate, keturim meiser behema. But they're partners, and partners are exempt from the inyan of meiser behema. That's the 10th animal is meiser. They have to bring it as a korban. But when they're obligated to bring the meiser behema, i.e., when they're not considered partners, when it's considered part of the estate and they haven't divided up the estate yet, so then peturim and akolbon, then they're exempt. When they're obligated meiser behema, then peturim and akolbon, because then the estate is paying the half shekel on their behalf. So then they're going to be exempt from the kolbon. Because it says, their father is paying on their behalf. So the Gemara says, Mani Matznisin, who is our Mishnah like? Who is our Mishnah like? Lo Rabbi Yehuda, lo Rabbanon. Our Mishnah is not according to the position of Rabbi Yehuda or the Rabbanon. The Tayyib, because we learned there Machokest in Mesechas Maitros, Hametame, that a person puts water into these seeds or dregs, and you haven't yet separated the meiser from them. V'nasam bahem b'mida, v'nasam mayim b'mida, and you put water into it. Umatza kedei midaso. So you put, let's say, a gallon of water into it, and now you come and you filter out the dregs, and you find another gallon of water in it. You found the exact amount. So potter. So now whatever is left, whatever liquid is left, you don't have to tithe it, because even though the water received the taste of this wine, or it has the appearance of the wine, and it also has some of the flavor, since nothing was added to it, this is not wine, it's just water, because the volume is the same. And so there's nothing that water is not obligated in meiser, only wine is. Rabbi Yehuda Mechayev, Rabbi Yehuda says you have to give meiser, because Rabbi Yehuda says we follow after the taste and the appearance. And so since it has the taste and the appearance of wine, you have to give Meiser. So the Rabbanan say you're exempt because they say we follow so money. So who is our Mishnah? Who is that price? Who is our Mishnah like? Rabbanan. If you want to say our Mishnah is like the Rabbanan, because according to them, Afagav de Hechmet, the Rabbanan's position is even if it fermented, you're exempt because it wasn't changed. So why does our Mishnah say it depends upon whether or not the temet fermented? The Rabbi Yehuda, Afagav de Lo Hechmet. Rabbi Yehuda says we follow the taste and the appearance, even if it didn't ferment. So our Mishnah is not like either one. So I'm Rav Nachman, I'm Rav Avua. So it says Rav Nachman and Rav Avua, Kishe Hechmetz Machlokes. So he says the Chacham and Rabbi Yehuda are not always arguing. They're only arguing in a case where it already fermented, but where it didn't ferment, also Rabbi Yehuda would admit that it's not considered wine and it's exempt from Meiser. Umas Nisan in our Mishnah, which says that there's a distinction between temed that fermented and temed that didn't ferment, that is like the position of Rabbi Yehuda. The dispute between Rabbi Yehuda and the Rabbanan is only where it fermented. But if it didn't ferment, everybody would say it's nothing. Okay. Amar Rav Nachman, Amar Rav Avua. Temed. So now we're going to argue. We're going to try and clarify the position of Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda's position is that even if it's the same amount, it's obligated meiser because it has the taste and the appearance of wine. Amar Rav Nachman, Amar Rav Avua. Temed. Let's say you have this temed that didn't ferment, and you can't purchase with the meiser sheni money. So now we have an interesting case. Shelakacho. Because of meiser. So remember, you can't buy the temed that hasn't fermented. You can't buy it with meiser sheni money, but you did it anyway. You weren't supposed to. You went to the wine guy. The wine store is selling. Oh, I got a good deal for you. I'm going to give you these dregs mixed with water. It hasn't fermented yet. Just take it back to your house for a few days. They'll ferment. So you bought it with the meiser sheni money. Now 5 days later it ferments. So what's the deal? So meiser sheni money that you used to buy the wrong thing is going to be considered to be like it's not that it's going to be considered like it's not meiser sheni money. So therefore, meiser sheni money that buys something it's not supposed to is considered to be like it's water. It still retains the status of meiser sheni. But in this case, since it fermented after the fact, it's now going to be like it was acquired with meiser sheni. My time, because retroactively it became clear that what you acquired was not water, which would not have been allowed with the meiser sheni money, but you acquired fruits. Ela masnisin de katani. So the Gemara challenges Rabbi Rabua. How can you say that? How can you say this? Our Mishnah says the katani hechmitz in lo hechmitz lo. Our Mishnah that says they could buy it only for fermented. If it didn't ferment, no. So isn't it a problem because you're saying that even if it hasn't fermented, it will eventually ferment? The Gemara says, Dilma ishavke ave machman. Maybe what our Mishnah is saying, why does our Mishnah say you can't buy if it hasn't fermented? Maybe if you allow it to ferment, it will ferment if you just leave it. Amarabba, yeah. Our case where it says you can't buy it is because our Mishnah is talking about a case where he didn't sell all the temet. He just left a little bit in the cup, and it still hasn't fermented. And so therefore, we see that for sure it's not going to ferment. Rava gives a different answer. Rava Amar Hamani Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri. Our Mishnah is reflecting the position of Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri, who says even something that's a fruit, if it looks like water, we follow the appearance. The Tanan, as we learned in the Mishnah and Mikvahos, but really you might be more familiar with this from the second daf of Makos. Shlosha Lugin, where it's cited. Shlosha Lugin Mayim Chaser Kortav. Let's say we said that a mikvah is disqualified with 3 lugin of drawn water. Let's say it's 3 lugin minus a little bit of water. Shenafo tochon Kortav Yayin. That fell into, and a little bit of wine fell into that. So that made it 3 lugin of water plus wine together, which would disqualify mikvah if it was total water, but now it's water plus wine. But Marayan can Marayan, but now it looks like wine, but nothing mikvah, and it falls into the mikvah. Lo pasu, it doesn't disqualify it because it looks like wine and it doesn't have 3 lugin of water. But shlosh lugin mayim chaser kortav shenaflo tochon kortav shal chalav. But if milk falls into it, milk makes it to 3 lugin, which disqualifies a mikvah. Umare and kamare mayim, the naflu mikvah will paslu. But now, if there are 3 lugin of water plus a little bit of milk, so that makes it 3 lugin, and it looks like water, the naflu mikvah will paslu. Then it hasn't disqualified it because it's not 3 lugin of water. It's 3 lugin of water and milk together. But Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri says, no, we follow the appearance. So since if it's milk, it looks like water, it's going to disqualify it. And so we want to say that this, so too over here, that we're going to say, Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri, Basar Chazusa, and he says we follow the appearance. And Hachinami is Dil Basar Chazusa. So here also we'll go after the appearance. And so therefore the Tan of our Mishnah says, a temed that has not fermented is like water and it disqualifies the mikvah. And so too, if you buy it with the cast of Meiser Sheni, it doesn't take effect. The time of the Chazusa, the Haimayaninu. And so therefore, since you bought it here, it looks like water, so it doesn't take effect. So even though it ferments later on, it's still going to be like, when you buy a seltzer, which is flavored with grape, it still looks like seltzer. So therefore, even though it has a little bit of flavor in it, it's not going to be disqualified. Upligid to Rabbi Lezer. And that what Rabbi Barabua said, that the dispute between Chacham and Rabbi Yehuda is only by temed that fermented, a temed that didn't ferment, everybody would say is exempt from Meiser. That argues with the position of Rabbi Lezer. Everybody says that you can't separate the Meiser for this temed from another place. Elam kain hechmetz, unless it's fermented. Because otherwise, it would be taking from something that's obligated on the exempt, and that wouldn't be allowed. Chiyuv al ptur. Because savar below hechmetz, machlokes. He says the dispute is where it didn't ferment. So there's a question whether or not you could do it. Ad kan l'machayev Rabbi Yehuda el minei obey. When does Rabbi Yehuda say you have to take temed, you have to take a tithe from temed that didn't ferment, only where you want to take it from the temed itself, of lo. But from another place, for sure you can't do it. Why? Because you can't take from umin aptur al chiyuv. You can't take from the chiyuv al ptur or from the ptur al chiyuv, from something that's exempt and something that's obligated. Because from the chiyuv al ptur, Rashi explains it. You're taking from something that's obligated onto something that's not, but that means you're really not in effect taking it from it. And so then you're going to give, so it's not tithe. Or taking from ptur al chiyuv, also for something that's exempt, you can't take a tithe from something that's not required to tithe on something that's obligated. In the end, the Kohen would end up eating tevel. Tanu Rabbanon, temed achol hechmetz, temed before it ferments is like water, and so therefore, how do we purify water? Normally, food items cannot be purified, but water is the only item that can be purified. How do we purify water? This is essential to the way we make a mikvah, a modern mikvah, is mashiko b'mayim. Before it ferments, you could do what's called hashaka. You touch it to other water, and that's how it ferments. And that's how you purify it. You touch it to the water of the mikvah. Misha hechmetz, but once it ferments, mashiko b'mayim. Then you cannot do what's called hashaka. Amarava lo shanu el shetamdu b'mayim tahorim. This is only where you made the water with pure water, vinitmu, and it became tamei. Aval tmei meikaro. But if it was tamei from the outset, before you put in the temed, it doesn't work. Azarav Gavia mi Beikatil Amar Shmaita Kamed Ravashi says why? He says my shnat may meikar delo. Why, if it's tummy initially, do we not allow it? Damrin and Idi the Maya Yakiri Shachni Tatai. Since the mayim is very heavy from the wine, it's going to go to the bottom of the utensil. Upeire coffee milao, and the fruit will go above, and so therefore the water is not going to touch the mikvah water. The Torah water is not going to touch the water, only the fruit. And you won't have the pure water touching the other pure water. Don't challenge me on the science here because I'm not sure it works. If that's the case, tahorim will besof nitmu. Well, if it was Torah initially and then it became tamei, nami, it should be the same thing. Ela mebabli. So the water gets mixed up. The water gets mixed up. So we don't understand Rava's position. Rav Gavia Mebei Kasil argues on Rava. So now we're up to the next Mishnah. Kol makom sheyesh. Okay, so wherever kol makom. By the way, I think I have to go a little fast because I'm running out of charge on my phone. It's never happened to me, but I only have 14% left. So we'll see. Kol makom sheyesh mecher, wherever a father has the right to basically to sell his daughter off as a maid. They did this to provide security for their children in a very crazy world. The children would anyway get married young, so wherever the father still has the right to do it because the child is a minor, ain kinas. Then if the father still has the right to do this, uh, uh, then somebody who assaults the daughter does not pay to the father the kinas of seduction or assault, because the Torah says you only have to pay that if they're a nara, not if they are a katana. Kol makom sheyesh kinas, but wherever the father collects it, i.e. by a nara is between the age of 12 and 12 and a half, ein mecher. The father has no longer has the right to sell off his daughter as a maid. I'm Rav Yehuda Marav. It's two different Rav Meir. That's all the position of Rav Meir. The Chachamim say that there is kinas even when you could sell it, when you could sell the daughter. Meaning to say, if somebody assaults a minor, Rahman al he still has to pay the fine to the father. The Tanya Katana mibatz yom echad, a girl 1 day old, until she goes through adolescence and has 2 hairs. Yeshua mecher bein kinas. So the father could sell her off as a maid, but she cannot get kinas. But he does not collect a fine for assaulting her. Mishatavi shtei saros, once she brings forth the 2 saros, at that point, until she becomes an adult, then he collects the kinas, but he can't sell her. Different Rameir. Shayir Rameir Omer, Kol Makom Sheish Macher and Kinas, Kol Makom She Yesh Kinas Mecher. So our mission is like Rameir, but the Chachamim say Kitana mi bas shalosh shanam yom echad, v'ad shetibager yesh la kinas. That even if she's a minor girl from 3 years old, until she's an adult, the father collects the punitive fine. Kinas in mecher lo. So do you mean he collects the fine, but he can't sell her off as a daughter? Ema af kinas b'makom mecher. Oh, he can do kinas even when he's mecher. Today, if a person would try to sell off his daughter, God forbid, it would be a major chil Hashem, a major desecration of the Torah, ziyuf Torah, because we don't do this anymore, obviously. So now we say the concept of miyun. Miyun is that the minor girl, if her father dies and her brother or her mother marries her off, she has the right to reject before she becomes an adult. So kol makom sheish miyun, that's called rejection. Wherever the minor girl has the right to reject the marriage, ein chalitza. That let's say she would fall to chalitza at that age, it wouldn't happen. Meaning to say, the chalitza cannot take place until she becomes an adult. Kol makom sheyesh chalitza, wherever there is chalitza, that means she's an adult. Ein miyun, there's no miyun. What? And yibum also, we'll see. And so I'm Rav Yehuda Rav. Our Mishnah, Zu Divrei Meir, Chachamim Yesh Miyun b'makom chalitza. Chachamim say there can't be miyun. The Tanya, Amataya Bas Ben. Until what age can she reject? Ad shetavi shtei saros, until she brings forth the 2 hairs. Divrei Meir, Rav Yehuda Omer, Ad sheyarba ashchar olavan, until she has the hair below, meaning to say a majority of hairs. So we see that according to Rabbi Yehuda, even after she brings forth 2 hairs, she could still do chalitza and she could still do miyun. And so we see that there's some overlap. I have only 10%. Turn on battery, low power mode enabled. Okay, hopefully I'll get more time. Okay, kol makom sheyesh tekiah, meaning to say that on Erev Shabbos, they would blow the shofar to let everybody know it's Erev Shabbos and Erev Yom Tov. Then, whenever you're blowing the shofar, even on Erev Shabbos, ein Havdalah. You don't have to say Havdalah in the prayers. Kol makom sheyesh Havdalah, whenever you're saying Havdalah, meaning to say when it's going from like Shabbos to Yom Tov, ein tekiah. You don't blast the shofar to let people know that it's going to be Yom Tov if it's Shabbos that day. Yom Tov shechal yos b'erev Shabbos. If Yom Tov comes on a Friday, Tochlin, then we blow the shofar to let everybody know before Shabbos. But we don't make Havdalah on Erev Shabbos because we're going from Yom Tov to Shabbos. We're going up and holding it. But B'motzei Shabbos, Mavdilin. But on Saturday night, when we go from Shabbos to Yom Tov, we make Havdalah. What? We say Vatodienu in our Shalosh Regalim. When we go from Shabbos to Yom Tov. below token, but we don't blow the shofar before Yontif. Kate said Mavdilin, how do we do the Havdalah when we are Motzi Shabbos? We say a Mavdil ben Kodesh LaKodesh. We say the separation between Kodesh and Kodesh, and that's how we do it today. But Rabbi Dosa says ben Kodesh Chamer LaKodesh HaKol, between the holiest one and the lesser holiness. Hechi Tokea, how do we blow the shofar? Amar Rav Yehuda Tokea Maria Mitoch Tekiah. We do one tekiah, and then we do a trua, and then we do another tekiah. Rav Asi Amar Tokea Maria b'meshima achas. We do it in one blast, Tokea Maria, tekiah and trua. Iskin Rav Ami Hutzol Kishmaita. So Rav Ami from Hutzol said that's Elcha. Meisve Yom Tov Shachal Be'erev Shabbos Token V'Marim. Yom Tov that comes on Friday, we do the shofar, and we don't do trua. My love, V'Marim call doesn't mean no true at all. No, so the Gemara says no. Rav Yehuda Mitaretz L'Tamei, Rav Atzi Mitaretz L'Tamei. Rav Yehuda Mitaretz L'Tamei, V'Marim B'Fnei Atzi. We don't do trua by itself. Ella Mitoch Tekiah. We do it part of the tekiah. Rav Atzi Mitaretz L'Tamei, V'Marim B'Shtei Neshim L'Sal V'Neshim Achas. We do it two breaths. When Motzi Shabbos, we do the Havdalah. Hechi Amarla. How do we say Amav ben Kodesh Kodesh? Amar Rav Yehuda b'Chasimasa. In the end of the bracha of Havdalah, we say Baruch Atah Hashem Amav ben Kodesh Kodesh. Then Rav Nachman Chatimasa. Rav Sheish Bar Davim, he says b'Pischa. Says at the beginning we say Amav ben Kodesh Kodesh ben Oral Choshach. The way Selchot Tekavasa, the law is not like him. Rav Yehuda Amar ben Kodesh Chamer Kodesh Kal. He says from the higher holiness to the lower holiness. The way Selchot Tekavasa. We don't say that because that's a zilzal of the Yontif. Amar V'Zer Yom Tov Shachal Yos Be'emta Shabbos. Let's say Yom Tov comes in the middle of the week. Omer Amadu Ben Kodesh Chol. Say separation from Kodesh Chol Ben Oral Koshach Ben Yisrael Memim Yom Hashvili Sheish Dimei Masa. My timer Seder Havdalah Sumona, because this is, even though it's different, the Chachamim say we count all the Havdalahs that are in the Torah, even though it's not exactly the Havdalah of Shabbos. Hadron Al Kol Shoftin. And I have to shut down my phone. Sorry for going so fast, but I'm out of juice. Wow. Couldn't believe that. All right, we'll stop here.